us on Facebook Live as well. Joining me right now via Zoom, I've got Adele Kiesten, who is the director of Gun Free South Africa. Now, is this the society that we now live in? Is this the extent of which we now need to go to protect our kids by putting up bulletproof parks so that they can play safely and not get shot or worse, killed by any stray bullets in gang-ridden communities? Adele speaks to me about this fantastic initiative, or is it fantastic? I don't know. We are about to find out. You know, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of questions surrounding this bulletproof parks. Adele, good afternoon to you. Thank you for taking the time out and joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Cliff, and hello to all your viewers.
Let's get into this one. Firstly, the bulletproof park. Speak to me about the concept and exactly what it is and what it looks like.
Well, the idea really comes out of decades of working to reduce and prevent gun violence in this country. And in a sense, having tried so many things, lobbying for the law to be strengthened, putting pressure on the Minister of Police to put in place dedicated specialist firearms units. And yet the gun violence is continuing. And over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen the significant spike in gun-related violence, with 34 people being shot and killed in this country every single day. And so in a sense, it's like, how do we turn this on its head?
Yeah.
How do we begin to make people think about this issue? You know, it's a serious issue. It's a serious proposal.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think that's part of where we've been coming from is this the only thing that's possible? In a way, so on one hand, I mean, I liked your introduction, it's a crazy idea.
Yeah.
We should not be having this conversation. We should be having the conversation of, getting guns out of circulation. But we've been having that conversation and nothing really is changing. Is this the way that we have to go?
Yeah.
Are there other solutions? Is this the best possible solution?
Yeah.
So I think that's, and we've really grappled with is this a crazy idea? Maybe
absolutely.
Not.
And I mean, again, social media has gone crazy about it. We just spoke about it a few minutes ago as well. My co-host Michaela also mentioned it, where we were, where people on social media are saying, I mean, this is absurd. However, this is the reality at the moment that we are faced with. I mean, how else are we going to be protecting kids? Surely they should be able to go play outside again. Now, I know that this park is going to be placed out in Mitchell's Plain, if I am correct by saying this, Adele?
Yeah.
Why Mitchell's Plain?
Why Mitchell's Plain?
Yeah.
A number of reasons. It's one of the kind of in the top 30 murder stations in the country. But also we have a relationship with the Cape Flat Safety Forum, and several of the families who are litigants with us in the class action against the Minister of Police on the Prinsloo Guns matter. Many of the families live in Mitchell's Plain. In fact, some of them live in Beacon Valley, and some of those were actually a young girl who got caught in the crossfire as well. So it's a very kind of real and alive issue for gun free in our work with community leaders in Mitchell's Plain.
Yeah. And then my co-host Michaela actually had a very good question surrounding the park and when it comes to the gangsters of it as well.
Adele, I just what the question was is, how do we know that the gangsters wouldn't be using it to protect themselves? Then this creating a big obstruction
within the space.
Yeah. So that's a really important question, and we have grappled with that. So, for example, one of the features of the park is facial recognition, and it will only recognize the faces of children.
Okay.
But we know in Atlantis, in other places that we work, there are 9-year-olds that are being recruited into the gang. So that would be one of the negatives that we hadn't thought through carefully enough. And I guess one of the reasons we've kind of put this out in the public is exactly to help us think through this a bit more carefully. What do people on the ground think about this?
Yeah.
We've had a series of consultations with child rights kind of activists, with community leaders in Mitchell's Plain, with criminologists saying, help us think through this a little bit more carefully. And one of the issues raised again and again is the gangs actually usurping the park for, making it their headquarters. Whether it's actually storming it, possibly putting their graffiti on it. So a whole range of risks. So that would be a big risk.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then speaking about that as well, I mean, early on you mentioned that there's facial recognition. Are there any other safety measures when it comes to the Bulletproof Park that's there? And then also, who is going to be managing the park? Who is going to be overseeing this park when it is placed out in Mitchell's Plain and ready for kids to come and make use of it?
Okay, so some of the other safety features include cameras internally, a panic button, and then the level 8 bulletproof glass. Many of these features were really drawn from our own understanding of the kind of society we would want to see. So, for example, the panic button is I guess is a real panic button.
Okay.
But it's also represents and symbolizes the kind of society that when a crime happens, the cops are there, they respond. There's that kind of responsive police service, which then apprehends the perpetrator and gets the gun, recovers the gun. So a lot of the features were, so even things like the cameras, it's that we are all involved in our community safety. People's kind of eyes and ears are open. We're looking out for each other. So it was, that's what I guess inspired some of those features. In terms of who monitors the park, I mean, and an ideal would be something like a crescent.
Okay.
Where the park is completely, this is such a common feature in Cape Flats communities. Where there's a crescent, and so the park, the open field, if you will, are surrounded by houses, and so you almost have like a natural monitoring system. But you would need to, and the idea would be to work with local people, to help monitor. Your kind of go-to might be moms, but not necessarily. But it would be very much kind of maintained and monitored by the local community. So there needs to be some kind of process of consultation and ownership of the concept.
Adele, what happens in the situation? Oh, firstly, I would like to ask is, what is the age group that the facial recognition will then cut off? And then also, what if a parent wants to go in with their child? What then happens?
Yeah, you're raising all the tough questions.
Sorry.
So there's some of the stuff we hadn't thought of, but to go back to, we very clear, and this is based on evidence, because this in some ways is a dystopian and crazy idea, but it's guided by our understanding of the extent of the gun crisis in our country, gun violence crisis. So it's geared towards children from 0 to 12.
To 12,
years of age. And the reason for that is because that's where we've got some data, in that we know that, and this is a global phenomenon, it's not just South African, but these children are most at risk for, if they experience gun-related violence, they're most vulnerable and at risk for experiencing gun violence in the crossfire.
Okay. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, and so we know also from Red Cross Children's Hospital data. So this is very specific. We're talking Western Cape.
Yes.
At this stage, most likely Cape Metropole. So I think that's one of the things we've also, that has to be a specific area. So whether we're saying regional or provincial or just 2 or 3 communities in the Cape Metropole. But having a clear rationale for the location is going to be critical. So we'll look at Red Cross Children's Hospital data, which shows that over a 20-year period, almost half of the children that reported to the hospital with gun-related injuries, they were children that were caught in the crossfire. So that concurs then with the global data. So that's where it's geared. We're talking 0 to 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certainly a lot of other questions, Adele, that fortunately we have raised here today on the show. But I mean, questions that you get to take back in your team, you get to look at it because I do believe it's not put down just yet. It's not built yet. And so these are things that you're looking into, which is a fantastic opportunity and a brilliant space to kind of iron out some of these things. So Adele, for now, thank you for your time. I know that in the coming weeks and possibly even months, once this project officially kickstarts and the building and everything takes place, we'll chat again about it closer to the time. But for now, thank you for your time and thank you for speaking to us about these bulletproof parks in Mitchell's Plain.
Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you so much. That was Adele, ladies and gentlemen, breaking it down, man. I mean, what a fantastic initiative. However, this is not the conversation we want to have. This is not necessarily a great thing. However, when we're speaking about protecting our kids, it's brilliant. It's exactly what we need, and it's the way we should be going about it in protecting our children. So a big shout out to Adele there from the Gun Free South Africa. Stay tuned to their social media to check more of what they are busy with, especially when it comes to gun laws. They are so strong about it. These people go to parliament, they speak about guns, they are advocates for it. I love Gun Free South Africa. We've chatted a number of times to them as well about some of the other things as well.
I truly love how they're open to ideas. So if you